We are talking Breathe from 2008, and this is directed by Don Murray, written by Mick Murray, who also has a role in the movie, and there's also a Christopher Murray in the movie, so it's kind of a family, low-budget movie, I would say. Now, this is apparently based on a true story, and effectively this is a movie about a group of divers, experienced divers, who are going in this cave system to look for lobsters. They get lost and end up getting trapped in there and have to try and find a way out before they run out of air. There's a couple of air pockets where they can kind of rest up, but yeah, the time is running out as the tide is rising. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So I came across this movie because I was actually seeing if there was any shark films I hadn't watched, and this one came up. There's some sharks in it, but it's not a shark film. In actual fact, there's no actual shark attack in the movie, despite some of the posters making it look like that. There's a scene where they go cage diving at the beginning of the movie, and that's kind of where the sharks are, but outside of them kind of bashing the cage a little bit, that's kind of all you really get. So don't go into this thinking you're watching a shark film, because it really isn't. But what does work in this movie's favour? Now, it's clearly a low-budget movie, and one of the things apparently this movie does have to offer is there's no sets, there's no CGI, it's all filmed on location with real caves, real marine life, real sharks and everything, basically. So everything you see on screen obviously looks authentic, and I will say as well, I think the actual depictions of diving and scuba diving look realistic. I mean, they look like they've taken the time to make a grounded movie about this kind of sport and hobby. So it's really taken with quite a lot of seriousness and respect for that particular pastime. The other thing I would say I kind of liked is the fact that we have a group of friends, and there's no real inflated drama in this. You know, they get lost, and it's, you know, one of the guys says, "Oh, I know these caves," and they end up getting lost, but he doesn't really ever get berated for it, really. They just try and deal with it. There's a little bit of kind of argumentation where there's someone on the boat, and you know, he's kind of a little bit afraid to go in there, to go in after them, and yeah, understandably so, but it is not all that of a big a deal at the end of the day. So I actually kind of quite liked the fact that the relationships between these people, who we are meant to believe friends, they do act like friends. They kind of act like that, you know, they know each other, and they, you know, look after each other to a certain degree. So I kind of I sort of like that. Now, and again, the underwater photography as well, I have to say, is to be commended. I think it's well photographed, and you know, it looks good. And considering, as I said, this was all filmed on location, I think there's a lot to say for that. So what doesn't work in this movie? It's a little bit of a dull film, if we're being honest. I mean, without kind of going into too much detail, there's not exactly lots of adrenaline-filled action in this film. It's a very slow film. It's a very gentle film in regards to the threat. No one dies. No one's attacked. Like I said, the sharks, they're used on the poster. There's a couple of scenes that have sharks in them, but they're never really a problem. And it's just a case of people waiting to get rescued, which I understand if you were in that situation, you know, it's going to be a terrifying thing. But for a film, it's you know, it's okay, but it's not exactly edge of your seat stuff, to be honest with you. And I will say as well, I think the acting is a little weak. I'm not familiar with the cast here. I think Tim Abell is the most recognisable name there, but it's not brilliant acting, if we're being honest. There's also a lot of kind of like weird extra scenes that don't really need to be in there. Like, there's a scene at the beginning, towards the beginning, where these two of the friends are sort of talking about the military. Then we have all this kind of stock footage of like military scenes while they're kind of talking about it. But the military has nothing to do with this movie. I mean, we're meant to believe one of the guys is a veteran. I think two of the guys are veterans, but we didn't need lots of stock footage over the kind of the movie to kind of, you could have just said it, you know. But I mean, what we're seeing on the screen has no relevance to the actual kind of movie itself. So it feels like rather padding, if you see what I mean. And yeah, it's ultimately, this could have been a 15-minute short. It could have been a documentary, maybe. I think for a dramatic feature, it's not all that dramatic. As I say, not helped by, I have to be honest with you, not brilliant acting. And then obviously the scenes underwater, there's not a huge amount of dialogue anyway, so I suppose that you could see it as a positive or negative, depending on your point of view. But ultimately, it's, you know, it's really not the most thrilling of movies. So it's not a terrible film, but I don't think it's particularly interesting. And I think this movie's gone somewhat unnoticed. I noticed there is no reviews on IMDb. This is the 2008 movie. So for me, it's a 4 out of 10. It's subpar, but not a terrible film. It's, if you really want to watch an underwater film, there are elements of this which can be enjoyed, but I don't think it's particularly exciting. Have you seen Breathe? 4 out of 10 for me. Please let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.